as we continue to look at relationships within food or ecosystems, we're going to look at food chains. Now, the ultimate source of energy for all ecosystems is your solar energy. So this is the main thing to know from here. We cannot go outside, stand in the sunlight, and be filled up with energy, but plants can. So the only way we can get this energy from the sun in a usable format is if we eat a plant or if we eat something that ate a plant. Now, what can do that is something called a producer. Producers produce their own food. They're also called autotrophs. Now, auto means self, and troph means food. So when you look at an autotroph, you're looking at self-made food. So you need to know, this is really just vocabulary, and the best way to study this would be to do flashcards. But a producer is also known, and it's the same thing as an autotroph. Next level up would be your consumers. Consumers have to consume their food. We can't make our own food, therefore we consume it. So we are called a consumer. They're also known as a heterotroph. Hetero means different, and again, troph means food, so different food. So instead of self-made food, we have a different food source. A couple other things are going to be called herbivores. Herbivores is like an herb such as basil or oregano. It's a plant. So an herb is going to be, or an herbivore is going to be something that eats producers. So they eat plants. That's going to be like your cows or your sheep. Or even like a grasshopper, they eat plants. People don't think about bugs too often, but they are also called our primary consumers. So consumers have to consume their food, so both an herbivore and a carnivore are considered consumers. So they only eat producers, which means they only eat plants, and they are going to be primary consumers. That's their other name. So carnivore is a secondary consumer. They only eat things that eat plants. So that would be like a lion or a spider. So spiders eat ants or spiders eat grasshoppers. So they are carnivores. They don't eat plants directly. They only eat the thing that ate the plant. Same with your lion. And if you eat both things, then you are going to be considered an omnivore. Omnivores eat both producers and consumers. So, for example, bears, they're going to eat berries and they're going to eat fish. Or humans, if you eat a hamburger with a bun, then you therefore are an omnivore. You just ate a consumer, which would be the beef patty, and then you also ate a producer, which is what the bun would be considered. And then there are something called a decomposer. Decomposers are things that break down the remains of dead organisms. These are really important for us. Imagine all of the things that die, whether it's all of the leaves and the sticks that fall from trees, or the things that get hit by cars, just all the different animals that die over time. If there was not something that would help break those things down, then the world would be filled up with the remains of dead organisms. So decomposers are going to be things like mushrooms, bacteria, and fungi. And you even have this neat little creature down here. It's called a dung beetle. And dung beetles are little beetles that get balls of dung, which is poop, and they roll them up into little balls, and they put their eggs in it, and their babies will hatch in the little dung ball, and it will eat their way out because the dung is food to them. So that's super weird, but we also are thankful for that, because if it wasn't for them, we would have a lot more poop around the world, and that would not be fun for us. So this is just showing you a chart with your herbivore only eating plants, carnivores eating consumers, and omnivores eating both. That was a brain break we're not doing. So now we're looking at a food chain. Food chains show the transfer of energy. Food chains do not show what eats what. They do not show that. They show where energy is moving. Okay? If food chain showed what eats what, then they would say that this flower ate the caterpillar, and that's foolish, or that the caterpillar ate the frog. Okay, they do not show what eats what. They are showing where the energy is going. The energy from the flower is going into the caterpillar. The energy from the caterpillar is going into the frog. And the energy from the frog goes into the snake. That's what your arrows are showing. Don't mess that up. On the NCFE, they love to ask you things about what the arrows are showing, because a lot of people just assume it's whatever eats what, but that's not true. It is showing you where your energy is going. So, for example, if you were to make this into a food chain, the energy from the sun goes to the grass. The energy from the grass is going to go to the bunny, and the energy from the bunny goes to the fox. So that's the direction that your arrows would go. But things are not always this simple. There's a lot more energy transfer. It doesn't just show one chain of energy flows. So a food chain is a single flow of energy. A food web is a bunch of interconnected food chains. So if you see a bunch of arrows showing all the different food chains and how they're connected, that's what we consider a food web. But again, food webs are showing the transfer of energy within that ecosystem. And so I do challenge you to try to draw this as a food web on a piece of paper and just practice drawing your arrows. The answer is going to be on the next slide, which I'm about to change it to. So if you do want to try to see if you can turn it into a food web by yourself, please do that now because I'm about to show you the answer. Okay, so if you're looking at this, the easiest way to turn it into a food web, in my opinion, is to kind of just space things out in a circle or in 2 rows. So we're going to start with the sun. The energy from the sun will go to the clover, it will go to the grass, and the energy from the sun will go to the berries. The energy from the grass is going to go to the grasshopper. Now let's stop and ask, is the energy from the grass going to go to anything else? Well, I'm going to say no. So the energy from the clover, will it go to anything? Well, the energy from the clover could go to the bunny, but that's probably about it. So now let's move on to the berries. The energy from the berries, it could go to the bunny or it could go to the bird. Now let's move up to our bird. The energy from the bird could go to the snake or it could go to the hawk. Let's move on to our rabbit. The energy from the rabbit could go to the hawk as well as to the snake. Let's go on to our fox. I'm going to say that's a smaller, I meant to draw. The energy from the bird or bunny could also go to the fox. Now the fox. The fox probably isn't going to get eaten by any of these things. Neither is the hawk, but the snake could get eaten by the hawk, so that would be our food web. So if you just start it one by one and see where its energy could go to. But remember, the energy showing, or the arrows show energy flow, not what eats what. So now we're just going to look at trophic levels. Trophic levels are just talking about the amounts of energy. So level 1 will have more energy, than the higher levels will have less. What that means is the amount of energy within the grass, not all of it is going to get transferred to the bunny that eats the grass. Because the grass is going to use some of the energy that it's made in order to live. When the bunny gets whatever energy left, it will use that to live. So whatever eats the bunny will only get a small portion of the energy that's actually in the bunny that it got from the grass originally. Because again, organisms use the energy they have in order to function and to live. And that is all for our food web. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video, but I'll start another one. And I'll try to go through the other one pretty quickly. So hopefully you will be able to watch both of these in one day.